What are we looking at in terms of damage and disruption to production in the Gulf Coast?
Well, the storm could not pick a worse place to hit than it is as far as the energy patch is concerned. You have 4 of the 5 largest refineries in the United States directly in the storm's path. These are big refineries. A lot of your viewers are East Coast, I imagine. The refinery along the New Jersey Turnpike, the Phil 66 unit, these refineries are all at least 2 times larger than that facility. These are monster refineries. There's 3 million barrels of gasoline production shut in, product production, I should say, shut in right now. Also, there's 1.5 million barrels of crude oil production shut in offshore. Plus, there's the Colonial Pipeline that brings as many as 3 million barrels a day of product as far north as this New York City harbor area. That is also in the storm's path. A lot of infrastructure in the path of this storm, and this storm is a monster.
Yeah, Bob, this is the confusing aspect. It seems pretty destructive. From my reporting, it seems like nearly a fifth of all U.S. production stems from the area that's being targeted by this and the Marco storm that did diminish somewhat. And yet we're not seeing a huge boost to oil prices, with some people saying, look, there's so much crude stuck in storage that this isn't going to really make that much of a dent. Do you think that that's accurate, or do you think that the market is underpricing the disruption here?
Well, to a large degree, that is accurate. Right now, as of today's EIA storage report, there are 80 million more barrels of crude oil in the United States than there were last year at this time. Crude oil storage is about 507 million barrels. The all-time record is 540. There is a lot of crude oil here in the United States. Another phenomenon, on the other hand, though, when the refineries shut down, they don't need crude oil to make gasoline. Basically, you use crude oil for one thing: to send to a refinery, it gets boiled, it makes distillate, and it makes gasoline. When you shut down those refineries, you no longer need the crude oil to make gasoline. So that is a big issue, too. That gasoline prices will probably increase to a certain degree, but crude oil is going to get stuffed in the storage because there's going to be 3 million barrels less a day going through the refineries.
Bob, this seems like a worst-case scenario for shale producers in that region, given the fact that you have both low oil prices as well as potential disruption to supply and then damages that they've got to pay for. Is that also kind of how you see things?
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. I should add, not only is it hitting the worst place possible, but it's really coming at the worst possible time for the oil patch also. So, yes, I mean, like I said, there's going to be more crude oil stuffed in the storage. We're going to have a oversupplied situation as a result of this. This storm is so big, it's hard to imagine it coming back really quick. The production platforms out in the sea, out in the Gulf, they can come back pretty quickly. They're engineering marvels. They can withstand the storm. As soon as the producer companies can get employees back to these platforms, they can go live. The refineries, on the other hand, they are also engineering marvels, but they are vulnerable to flooding, not to mention the fact that the surrounding areas are going to be damaged also. The workers are going to have to deal with their own personal lives. There's going to be power outages. There's going to be trees across the roads. It takes a lot more people to run a refinery than it does to work a production platform. Getting those people to the refinery, getting them to work in the environment that's going to exist in the wake of a Cat 4 hurricane is going to be challenging at best. That alone will have a drag on how long it takes for a refinery to open. And then you also obviously have to take consideration of the flooding damage. So there's a lot going on here. Gasoline will probably be at a shortage here after this storm moves through the area. That will probably be the biggest issue here, is gasoline. We are about 7 million barrels above last year levels in gasoline. Like I said earlier, we're 80 million above in crude oil. So you can do the math there, and you can tell the gasoline market is much tighter than the crude oil market.
Bob
Crude
Yawger.
oil is in contango.
Yeah.
Gasoline is in backwardation. Those are market structures of the price curve.
Bob Yawger.